here to hear artist statement makeovers, because this is kind of scary, but that's what I'm going to do. What I did, I gave away a report called 4 Fast Fixes for a Winning Artist Statement, or Your Winning Artist Statement, or something like that. And then I asked people to submit their artist statements for a live on Facebook makeover of their artist statements. And for those of you who just hopped on, about an hour ago, I had 268 submissions. So please forgive me if I don't get to yours. I didn't think everyone would want to stay on the whole time, but here's the thing. If you pay close attention, you will learn from each and every one of these, even if they do a completely different type of art than yours, because there are just general guidelines that you can apply to any written piece of material. So what I was looking for was a variety that that I could share. I will tell you that here's the thing: the statement is supposed to describe the art. So if I couldn't find your art, and I think it only happened to a couple of people, if I couldn't find your art, I skipped over you. I couldn't find your name associated with a website to know that it was your art. I insist on looking at art when I'm writing about it. And then, and I didn't ask for you to submit the artwork. It would just be too complicated, but a number of you were pretty easy to find. So that there was no dearth of artist statements or website or art to look at. So I'm going to go over a few of these statements. I think I have 5 or 6. We'll just see how many I can get through in this amount of time. And then I'm also going to tell you about a new class that begins next week. It's a program that I've never taught before in this context. And I'm just going to give you a little blurb about that in between the sessions. So why should you be here? Why should you hang out with me? Why are you spending your Monday afternoon if you're in the States, or Monday evening if you're in Europe, or Tuesday morning if you're in Australia? Why are you here with me? And the reason that we're here is because being articulate about your work is so critical if you want to attain a high level of success. If you want to talk to gallerists, curators, if you want to apply for grants, the right words will help you sell your work, and they'll also help others connect with your work and to understand it better. And those people, the gallerists, the curators, the collectors, are going to expect you to speak intelligently about your art when you seek that high level. And you can't speak intelligently if you haven't thought about it. And the process of writing your statement, and it is a process. It doesn't just come down. It's not divinely granted to you, but it's a process of coming up with the right words for your statement will help you speak intelligently. Okay, so this is one of the many qualities that make you more magnetic than other artists. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Allison Stanfield. I started Art Biz Coach in 2002. Before that, I served for 10 years as a museum curator and educator. And it was in those roles, that was a long time ago, but it informs everything that I do. Well, at least this part of what I do. But it was in those roles where I learned how people connect with art, how they look at art, how they appreciate it, how they react to it, how they engage with it. And this is when I learned that with the right words, I could engage people in a conversation about a piece of art that they had no idea that they wanted to spend time with. That's how important language is for connecting to your art. The words are so powerful. Words, the right words are so powerful. And they can serve as your secret magnetic weapon. So general rules about your artist statement is that we want to keep the focus on the art. And we want to compel people to look at the art. Now, as I go through these, I want you to keep in mind that it's so much easier for someone else to edit your statement or anything that you write. So if yours is one of those statements that I'm going to put up here, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that I have enough experience. I edited museum labels and text for those 10 years. It's just that I have enough experience to kind of hone it for you. So you're kind of too close to get, a real good view of the words, especially if you're doing your artist statement at the last minute. So it's much easier to edit your statement after time has passed. It's much easier for someone else to look at it and to give you pointers. And just one big pointer when you're writing your statement is to just write. And by that, I just encourage you to become a word collector. Write, 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 write. You can edit, you can combine, you can delete later. But don't ever try to, this is a general writing rule, don't ever try to write and edit at the same time, because that just messes with you. It's a process, remember that. Also, what I'm going to share here, I just need to say, these are my own biases. This is what I like to see in an artist statement. Someone else may tell you something else. The instructions on your exhibition submission or your grant submission may ask you to write it a different way. Please follow those directions. Don't use me as a reason not to follow directions. But in general, let me share these with you. Okay. So if you're ready, I made these into slides because I thought it would be a little easier for you to see. So first up, because then you can remember. Mesa, can we see that? Okay. Yep. Okay. First up is Carolyn, and you can see her statement. She says, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's really good. And what Carolyn is in a transition where she's transitioning from throne and functional ceramics to sculptural wall ceramics. And what I've suggested for Carolyn is that she, hang on just a second. That's what I need to do. Is that she remove the whole second part of her statement. And the reason, so I suggest that she removes this part. And the reason is that I think it waters it down. I think that the real juice of the statement is in the first two paragraphs. And I'll tell you what I mean. It just, actually, if you're watching this later, if you want to go back and watch the replay, you can see it's not bad, but that second paragraph ends so beautifully. And then the other thing that I did is I pulled out some repetition that was in her statement. So the series is called Spirits Rising, and then she goes into rising spirits and uses spirits and rising a lot. I think, I can't think of, Carolyn, if you're watching, only you know if there's a better word for spirits, but I do think there are additional words for rising. So I'm going to suggest some of those. And also to remove the casual ampersand that's in here. So And then the repetition of their own in the last two sentences. Those are just things that I look for. They're so minor, but if we tighten it up a little bit, it will be punchier and have a bigger impact. So this is what I suggest for Carolyn. Spirits rising began as an altered vessel, a winged serpent carved on the front, and my vision of ascending spirits on the back. These spirits spoke to the culture of my people. Carolyn is Native American, Choctaw to be exact, emerging from the dust of genocide to a vibrant community devoted to preserving our history, language, and customs. Next, the spirits appeared on a lidded jar, and I knew they must break away from a thrown vessel. The spirit sisters and warrior brothers leaped to the wall of their own accord. So I really like this, like leaving it with this visual of them leaping from the thrown vessels to the wall, and I just wanted to go look at that for myself. And that is the main criteria for a good artist statement. It should make me want to look. So, and you see that I changed the word rising in two different places. I used the word ascending and emerging from the dust, and that just adds a little bit of variety to it. Okay, so that's Carolyn. Then there is Sandra, and Sandra has, and after I do this one, I will tell you a little bit about the new class, and then I will look at any comments that are up. Sandra says, I enjoy exploring different types of perspectives in my art. As a child growing up in Buffalo, New York, I loved seeing the old architecture the city had to offer. Now I seek out European architecture from travels or inspiration found near my home in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I go into the studio, open to see where the muse leads me. Maybe it's a surreal bird's eye view, a worm's view, or a twisted horizon line. So what I'm suggesting for Sandra is a little more drastic. First of all, these first two sentences include the words I enjoy and I loved. And those are two words that I try to leave, or two phrases that I try to leave out of statements. I think there are better ways to say it, because as a reader, I don't just care about what you enjoy. I want you to help me enjoy it too. I hope that makes sense. So use language that helps me enjoy it. I also highlighted the words, the locations, Buffalo, New York, and the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And that's because if I'm not in those areas, I might think that the work isn't for you. For me, I'm sorry. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't use them, but maybe you want to say them if you're exhibiting in those areas. If you're online, you have a worldwide audience. So why limit your audience to those locations? So what I really want you to do, Sandra, you have some work to do. I want you to pull out this part, the exploring various perspective, and the views, the bird's eye view, the worm's view, or a twisted horizon line. But I really want you to explore this. So why does a different, what does it do when we have different perspectives? So what does it help us see? How does it help us make our way through the world? You may enjoy it, but what does it do for me, the viewer? And then it would be interesting for me to know, and maybe it's interesting and maybe it's not, but I'll just throw it out there in case it is, but how you come up with the extreme scenes that you do. And a bird's eye view, a worm's eye view, those are extreme scenes. So how do you seek them out? Are you in a helicopter? Are you in tops of buildings? Are you, I don't know, setting up your camera down on the ground? That could be very interesting. But I love architecture too, and I love paintings and photography of architecture. So what I'm curious and would like for you to explore is there's a lot of details in city architecture. So there's lines, there's textures, there might be patterns, and there might be decorations. There might be decorative elements. You used the European architecture. Specifically, you mentioned European architecture. What is it about that you seek out? Because we're all attracted to the architecture for different reasons. And for you, it might not be the buildings themselves, but it might be the space that they create. So I just kind of want you to add a few more, maybe even a sentence or two more about why. And I don't mean like a because sentence. I do this because, but what do you want me to see? What do you want me to get out of these different perspectives? Okay. So that's Sandra's. So let me go ahead and tell you again, for those of you who are just joining us, I'm Allison Stanfield with Art Biz Coach, and I am here because I believe that the artist statement is the backbone of your marketing efforts. It is what can differentiate you and make you more magnetic, more attractive to gallerists, to curators, to collectors, to buyers, when you have the right words to talk about your art. And I'm giving you this little snippet, it's a little preview of my upcoming program. It's a new class that I'm going to teach called Magnetic You. And that is all online. I have this fancy thing at does that come out right, Mesa? At magneticuartist.com. magneticuartist.com. And where we are going to talk about the promotional material that you have to have when you want to attain a certain level in your art career. So artist statements, stories, bios, about pages, resumes, all that stuff. I want to give you the time and the space and the guidance and the support so that you can create a really strong artist portfolio for your marketing materials. And also, along with that, we have a whole lesson on branding and a lesson on interactive, I call it engaging your art viewers, how to get more engagement from viewers. So that's more about speaking, but by that point you will have written a lot and you'll know how to, you'll have some language to use to engage viewers. So that magneticuartist.com, it starts on the 26th, April 26th, but I have kind of a fast action for everyone watching this in the next 48 hours. You're the only ones that will get this because it cuts off in 48 hours. It is a template for your 10-second introduction, how to introduce yourself as an artist. So this artist statement makeovers that we're going through right now is just a little preview. And I have some more makeovers for you. So let me look at the comments just real quick. You've said once or twice that the goal is to make the person want to see the art. What can they expect to see? I am so sorry, but the comments disappear as soon as they come up. I'm going to actually really give you, hang on just a second. I'm going to give you I'm going to give you suggestions for, you'll see what people can look at. So for instance, in Carolyn, and I see Carolyn here, great, she outed herself. I said I would only use first names, and I only use first names. But for Carolyn's, seeing the figures jump off of the vessels and onto the wall, you would look for that. It's going to be different for everyone. It's working. Should we, Jan says, should we leave out references to locals, not from here to here, but from locales, I think. Gnarly wood to winds. I'm sorry, I don't understand that. I'll try to figure it out later. Okay. Mary, yes, this is being recorded and you can look at it later. Terry Lynn, the Spirits Rising was specific to a specific body of work, not one single piece. So it was a body of work, not a single piece. However, you could have an artist statement for every single piece that you ever make. And that would be marvelous. I know that makes you cringe probably to think about it, but just imagine if you had a story for every piece that you made. That would be wonderful, really wonderful. Okay, let's see. Some of you are saying it's not working, but I think most everyone is okay. So let's get on to another statement. And I'm going to take a little sip of water real quick. For those of you who don't know, I'm in the Denver metro area in Golden, Colorado, and we're in high desert, and it's pretty dry here right now, so my throat is drying, my mouth is drying out really quick. So I've got Bronley's statement up here right now, and it's usually it's a little longer than I would normally make an artist statement, and but the reason that I wanted to share it with you is it's one of the best artist statements about portraiture that I've ever read. Portrait statements are so hard because every portrait is about a different individual, and your goal is not always to be expressive as an artist, but to capture a likeness of a person. So normally, there would be an artist statement for every single portrait. Bronley says, we all hope our lives mean something, somehow touch the infinite. Portraits move me because they say, this person's story deserves to be told. Then they go right on telling their stories to many generations. There's a reason it's called capturing a likeness. Likeness can come or go with every stroke of brush or pastel, but the really elusive goal is also to catch some essential quality of the some essential quality of the sitter. I search for that in eyes and light, and for a sense of living flesh with warm colors glazed over green underpainting. If I can capture a person's spark, it is my contribution to history. And I love this part. And to the descendants who will inherit not only the painting, but that nose, those curls, or that twinkle in the eye. I thought this was delightful. I just have a couple of easy fixes for Bronley. I would remove this, they move me because I don't think it's necessary. Again, we're trying to get them to move other people, not just you. And then I always look for words like really and also that we can remove. And you can just say, but the elusive goal is to blah, blah, blah. And I think that will remove some of the weaker language that's in there. And then it just comes out looking like this. So I just removed unnecessary words. You might also, Bronley, you might be able to remove that last paragraph when, if necessary, if you need to make it smaller or shorter. I think it could stand without the last paragraph also. But you guys, when we were talking about what to look for, notice the last sentence of that second paragraph. A sense of living flesh with warm colors glazed over green underpainting. That is a clue to look for in Bronley's portraits. And that really helps you understand the artist's process and helps people get closer to the work, and not closer like in a bad way. They're not going to touch it or damage it, but just look more closely at, those kinds of details in the work. I really, really liked that. Really nice work, Bronley. And then I have one from Terry. So Terry has a paragraph, a biographical paragraph, and then she goes into her statement. Actually, she said the whole thing is a statement, but technically this first part is a bio, the second part is more of a statement. A lot of people who submitted their statements, I'm going to guess over half of you had a bio as part of your statement. Now, it doesn't mean that someone somewhere won't ask you to combine your statement and bio. But when someone just asks for a statement, it's about the current direction of your art. The bio is for your bio, your about page, what have you. So keep your statement focused on the art. So I'm going to take that second paragraph and encourage you, Terry, to turn that into a statement. And remember, a statement is a statement. It is in the first person. So if it's like about Terry's art, then you would have it in the third person. But if it's the statement, it's in the first person. And I just pulled this out because I'm going to ask you, like I asked Sandra, to do a little bit more work. So I'd like for you to pull that last paragraph out, and this sentence, my art spotlights things that others might not notice while also incorporating a strong sense of story. But this second paragraph is so loaded. It's got so much in it. Omnipresence of surveillance in our world, the real and illusory ways humans and other creatures protect themselves, the glorious indulgences of paranoia. I love that phrase. And the mysteries of discarded grocery lists and other scribbled notes. There is so much in there. It's a little overwhelming. So I'm still kind of wondering what your work is about. And because I went and looked at it and now know it, I kind of think that you're missing an opportunity, because I do believe that animals play a big part in your work. And I'd like to see you take each of these items on the list that you have in that second paragraph and dig deeper into the animals that you use, metaphorically, for the exploration, for exploring surveillance in the world. How do you use your subject matter to do this? And I think that this has so much potential to be extremely magnetic, because there's this high level of intrigue involved in it. I really want to see it. I really want to see the work after reading this, but I also don't know how to find these things in your work, if that makes sense. So how do I look at the work in order to find the glorious indulgences of paranoia? What do you want me to search for? What are my clues that I'm going to look for? So take that and just kind of here's the thing. It's not going to happen all at once. It's going to happen over time. And so just start journaling about that. And maybe even it might be helpful to come up with that, because each drawing or painting has a strong sense of story. you may need story with each artwork. And that in itself would be wonderful. Okay, let's see here. So we're on, just for those of you who are just joining us, we're on live on Facebook Live to talk about your artist statement makeovers. 268 submissions last time I looked. I'm going over just a few of them and telling you about my new class that I have coming up, which is called Magnetic You. It's at magneticyouartist.com. And you can go there right now and read all about it. But this is just a little tidbit, a little appetizer for the rest of the class. And the class is, it starts April 26th. It is about helping you become more attractive to collectors, buyers, curators, critics, all the art viewers, with the language that you put together, whether it's written, whether you speak about it, or the package that you create. We're talking about branding. We're talking about engaging audiences. So really trying to give you the time and space to come up with this language to help you promote your art and really be more confident in the image that you project to the world. And that's at magneticyouartist.com. We have a little bit of a bonus for everyone who signs up by the end of the day on April 19th, and that is a template for your 10-second introduction, introducing yourself as an artist. For those of you who act quickly, magneticyouartist.com. Let me look and see if there's a bunch of comments. Let me see. I'm going to start at the top and work backwards. Daniel says, how does one address multiple subject matters or multiple styles in a statement that is not for a show or a specific work? I think you need multiple statements for multiple bodies of work. And the reason is when you try to put them all in one thing, unless you have a clear, coherent vision across, the media doesn't matter. It's usually the style or subject matter that might make a difference. When you try to mush them all together, it becomes mushy. And so I really suggest that you have multiple artist statements. It ends up not saying anything when you try to say too much. Let me see. Margaret says, the statements I've dealt with so far are quite short. Is there an optimum length for a statement? Mine is longer. Don't worry about it, Margaret. But do worry about having too many words just for the sake of words. There is, I can think of one artist statement that is really long that I like because it's so engaging. But more often than not, it's just words that fill up the page. So make sure that it really says something and that you're not just adding words for the sake of adding words. There is no ideal statement length. I tend to think that here's the thing, it's harder to write shorter than it is to write longer, right? Because it requires like letting go of your babies, like, oh, I really like that word. I really like that phrase. And that is a little bit hard for some people to let go of. But if you just start gathering words, if you become the word collector that I would like for you to be, and you allow yourself time, I think you'll, like, if you just make it punchy, in other words, it's that old, I don't know if it's a showbiz thing, but it's leave them wanting more, right? Leave us wanting more and having to go back to your art to look at it. Now, the only specifications for the length of your artist statement are those that are given to you by an exhibition, a granting agency, what have you. So in some places you are limited by space, but other than that, you are not. As long as the words are good. Now I think Bronley's that I shared was probably the longest after I cut Carolyn's in half. But I think that most artist statements can get a lot done. They can make more of an impact, be more magnetic when they're shorter. Because sometimes you go on too long and you end up watering everything down. Eileen doesn't want me to call you guys. So sorry, it's a cultural thing. Sorry. Writing one for my new website. I'm trying to find the common thread between the series. You may have a common thread, and then you might have an artist statement for each series. So I hope that you honor that. Remember that the majority of people have no idea what an artist statement is. So you don't even have to say it's a statement. You can just have a paragraph describing the artwork on the site, and whatever page they land on has the story about that. Then I might have a statement for each exhibition. Absolutely, you might have one. Yep, get to the point. All right. Should the statement also include contact information at the end? No, not in your statement, unless it's like a piece of paper that you hand out to people. If it's on your website, of course, your contact information should be on every page. So it should be there. But in general, it doesn't need to be on there unless you're handing it out. Okay, let's look at a couple more. How about that? Let me go ahead and Anita says, I like that you say you guys. Yes, it is a cultural geographical thing. I am originally from Oklahoma, where we say y'all, and then I moved to Colorado, and my husband says you guys, and it's just say you guys. So sorry, I'm not meaning to offend anyone. All right. Besides, ladies, you are getting a really good, you're getting a lot of airplay because these statements are all from you. Okay, I'm going to make sure you guys can see that. You all can see that. Excuse me, another drink of water. All right. So here's Marsha's statement. And I'm just showing everyone how they are submitted to me. So I didn't change anything in the first slide here. So Marsha says, my current body of work focuses on honoring the sacred spaces in our natural world, particularly the living, breathing energy that surrounds all trees and vegetation and permeates the water and air that support life on Earth. I make this energy palpable by leaving flashes of the contrasting underpainting visible around the edges of the trees and water/horizons. The underpainting, typically done in saturated monotones such as magenta, creates an energetic contrast to the foliage, providing visual interest and drawing the eye to these sacred spaces. My hope is that by making this life energy visible, people will value our natural environment more and work harder to protect it. So I really liked so much of this, Marsha, and I'm going to make some suggestions. First of all, the word energy, I think, was used in every sentence, some version of the word energy. So I encourage you, I know that it's the right word in most instances, but if we could get rid of a couple of those, that would be great. And then I highlighted in pink some of the language that either we could change or remove from, just to tighten things up a little bit. My current body of work, you can just say my work. And in our natural world, you can just say nature. Living, breathing energy. may be redundant, trees and vegetation. You mentioned trees in the next sentence, so I think it's okay to leave that out. And then the last sentence, I'm going to ask you to turn around a little bit. So and then I'm going to ask you to break it up because, we're a scanning society these days. So changing it to my work focuses on honoring nature's sacred spaces, particularly the energy that surrounds all vegetation and permeates the water and air that support life on Earth. I make this energy palpable by leaving flashes of the contrasting underpainting visible around the edges of the trees and water/horizons. I'm not really sure what water/horizons is. I think I might find a better way to rephrase that because I didn't know if it meant water horizons or water and landscapes. So I might find a better way to rephrase that and get the slash is a little casual for a formal document like an artist statement. The underpainting, typically done in saturated monotones such as magenta, creates a dynamic, so I changed energetic there to get rid of one of the energy, contrast to the foliage, drawing the eye to these sacred spaces. And then I switched around that last sentence. I don't know if you guys remember the last sentence, but it said, my hope is by making this life energy visible, people will value our natural environment more and work harder to protect it. And so I think that by just making it visible, people aren't automatically going to work harder to protect it. So I kind of flip that around, and my hope is that people will value our natural environment more and work harder to protect it when they notice this life energy. It's a little picky thing, but I think it changes the meaning of the sentence, and I think it's more in line with what you intended, if I may be so bold as to say that. So I just tightened it up a little bit. What I love about this is it makes me want to go look at that life energy, the underpainting around the trees, the contrast to the foliage, having my eye go to those sacred spaces. Really enjoyed reading about that, and then, of course, finding it on your site when I went to look at it. So thank you, Marsha. Good work. And then I have a final one, and then I'm happy to look at your questions and comments and answer any questions that you may have. Monica has written this in the third person, which we've already learned, change it to the first person, but began her career in 2011, creating art her entire life, in addition to blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm just going to, and I don't mean to diminish it, but I'm just going to jump to my suggestion, which is to eliminate all of this because that's kind of biographical information. Again, don't really care that you have a love affair with abstract art. I want you to make me fall in love with your abstract art. So I pulled out what I thought was the most interesting sentence here, and that is while working mostly with a palette knife, it provides her many opportunities for experimenting with new color combinations and design. So I kind of changed this to say, the sharp edge and flat bed of the palette knife provides many opportunities for experimenting with color combinations and designs. However, I don't want you to leave it at that. Like the Sandra before you and Terry, I'd like for you to explore again color combinations and design. So if this is indeed your focus, the palette knife, because it's the only clue that you gave me to looking at your art. So if this is indeed your focus, what color combinations do you want me to see, to look for? What design qualities are there that you want me to notice in your art? And I think that a couple more sentences on here might be really nice and helpful. Anything that will make me go, oh, wow, I want to go see that. I want to look deeper and witness it for myself. Okay, so there we go. Let me go ahead and let me take another sip of water. Judy, there is a replay option after this is over. This will be on my Facebook page ASAP after this is over, and you will get an email with the replay link. Yes, exactly. That's why I wanted to put the slides up there so that you would have the actual words and not just me speaking them. Remember, everyone, that this is a preview of my upcoming class. It's called Magnetic You. It's at magneticyouartist.com. And it is all about the image that you project to the world. The artist statement is the backbone of all of your marketing. It wants you, I was just let me tell you a story, secret between you and me. I just had a gallerist come and talk to a room full of my clients in Santa Fe. And she was asked, what can we do to be more attractive to galleries? And she said, the first thing out of her mouth was, be articulate. I could not have paid her to do that. I was cheering because I've always said that as a former museum curator and educator. I know how important those words are. And she was saying it as a gallerist. It's not that the artist statement matters that much, but the process of writing your statement will help you come up with the language for promoting your art, for sharing it with curators and collectors. It will build your confidence and people will go, oh, she really knows her stuff. And that's what we do in Magnetic You. We work on your statement, your bio, your about page, your stories. And yes, you will have to do writing. And it doesn't mean you're a writer. It just means you write. You're going to collect words that you can use to promote your art. And then you'll have this system for using them at any time in your career when you create a new body of work. You will also go over branding and your marketing materials, and we'll look at the conversations that you can have with people to engage them with your art, whether they're art viewers or whether they're online. So that's all at magneticyouartist.com. It starts April 26th. I was going to say January. Boom, I don't know where that came from. April 26th. We do have a fast action bonus. If you sign up by the end of the day on April 19th, you receive a template for developing your 10-second introduction, the introduction that you use to introduce yourself as an artist to people. So that's all at magneticyouartist.com. Let me see let me see if I have a couple of questions. How interactive is the class that you offer? How much time should I set aside to work on the homework daily, weekly? Oh, Magdalena, I love that question. There are two different questions. How interactive is it? So one of we interact, all of the lessons are delivered in a live format webinar, not on Facebook Live, but in a webinar format with slides, examples, and so forth. Then we have, at the end of the webinar, we have Q&A time. And so I stay on until I've answered all the questions, pretty much. And then we have a Facebook group where I am active every single day. So that's how interactive it is. The other thing that I'm doing in this class is I'm encouraging you to trade writing with other people in the class. And that's super easily done on the Facebook group. So that you can just say, hey, does anyone want to trade statements with me, and get some feedback that way. The other part of your question, how much time should I set aside to work on the homework? You've heard of time expanding, right? I guess that's Einstein time. So you will, like, if you give yourself 3 hours, it's going to take 3 hours. If you give yourself an hour a day, it will take an hour a day. It also depends on how much work you have to do. So if you have no statement whatsoever, or if you have a terrible statement that's 5 years old, and that's something I haven't even mentioned, is that you, as your work matures, your statement should be constantly evolving, because the words you use today should be different from the words you used 4 years ago, because hopefully your art has also evolved with it. So if you're still using a statement that has nothing to do with your art right now, you might have a little more work to do. And there are all kinds of directions you can go if you choose to explore it. Make it, say, an hour a day, but don't hold me to that, because it's going to be different for everyone. Oh, Dawn, I just can't win. Dawn's offended because I said ladies. Margaret says, I really like the idea that I get to say sometime to a collector with a small paragraph without ever being present. Yay. Chris says, I'm learning so much. I'm so happy to hear that, Chris. Yay. I knew that people would get something out of this, even if yours wasn't chosen. Thank you so much. Robin says, I'm curious about the balance between using non-typical art terms versus regular language, thinking of viewers and readers. Very good question. I'm thinking of a word like, well, you might have, like I just mentioned, underpainting. I think most people could deduce that the glaze was over the underpainting, and so they would know to look at that. But it could be explained that if I was writing a museum label, which I wrote many of in my career, I might explain that more in depth, like thin layer of transparent glaze or something like that. And it's possible, but it's also possible that you can use those words without dumbing them down. And people could, if you write it the correct way, people can still get a lot out of it. So I guess we can't assume, and we just have to think of our audience, and it might change. So what you have on your website or what you have for a grant application might be different from what you have on the wall of an exhibition. Okay. I'm not seeing any more questions. What I really remember that you can go back and watch this. Go over to magneticuartist.com and read about Magnetic You, the program that helps you make you more attractive to collectors, buyers, curators, and art viewers, people on your social media. Magneticuartist.com. We start on April 26th, and don't forget that fast action bonus if you sign up by the 19th. I just want to thank everyone for being here, and the 268 people that sent in their artist statements. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of them, but hopefully you picked up some for yourself, and are inspired to work on your artist statement and get that language down that can help you in all aspects of your marketing. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here, and I'll see you online, and hopefully I'll see you in Magnetic You.